Welcome to Pink Monarch Prints. My name is Bobby, and today we are going to create a paper sack journal. I've got a few of the papers and kits we're going to use here, and so I just thought I would show those to you before we got started. I'm going to use the freebie that Anna had today in her video where she was part of a collaboration. So she created a freebie. You can check out that freebie. It's linked in the video. Then I'm also going to be using some pieces from the August Gold Kit, part of the subscription kit. I'm going to be using a few of those pieces. And then I'm also going to be using the Classic Collections #1 papers. And I've already taken 4 of them that I plan to use, and I've cut the borders off, the white borders off, so that I could use these. So those are the kits we're going to use, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, so you're going to need 2 paper lunch sacks, and I already have one here that I've folded down. And basically what you do is you just open up your bag and you pop out the sides where they're creased, and then you're going to lay down. Once you have these parts creased, you just kind of pop the bag and you'll be able to lay this part down, and it'll make the bag larger for our journal. What we're going to do with the second one is we are going to cut right here. We're not going to cut this portion, but just right above that. We're going to use that as kind of our guideline there. And we're going to cut this off. Okay, now don't throw this portion away because we're going to use it later. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and you can either grab your glue stick or your wet glue, whichever works better for you. And we're again going to pop these sides out on here so that our journals will be the same size. So sometimes the bags are a little irregular, so you may have to trim up just a little if they don't, exactly fit together, but they should be pretty close. All right, so I'm going to grab I think I'm just going to grab my liquid glue, and I'm using Bearly Arts glue, and I'm going to go ahead and just put a line of glue in here. And glue this down. And kind of make sure your bag's lined up top to bottom also when you glue that down. Okay. And then I'm going to add some glue on this side. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Make sure my top and bottom are lined up. Glue that down. And then we'll just glue our ends here. And that got a little crinkle, but that's okay. All right. I'm being a little sloppy with my glue there. All right, let's get that down. Okay, so we got that down. And then I'm going to do the same thing in here. I'm just going to glue these 2 sides and the bottom. There we go. And we'll glue our bottom here. And if you want to have extra pockets, you could kind of figure out where your pockets are going to be and, leave those open if you want. But I am choosing just to glue everything down. I'm also going to glue this down. It could be a tuck spot, but for this bag journal, I just want it to lay down because I'm going to cover it with paper. Okay. Okay, and then what we're going to do next to join these together is we're going to make a 3/4 of an inch score on each of these, and then we're going to glue that together, and that will give us a 4-ply bond for our spine. Okay, so let me grab my scoreboard here. And I'm just using my little one here. It doesn't quite go the whole way, but it's close. Okay, so 3/4 of an inch. I'm just going to score that. Oops, make sure I stay in the lines there. All right, so we've got that one. And then we're going to turn this one around and do this one. Okay, and then we're also going to do a score. This has a natural bending spot, but we want to have a little space in between there. So I'm just going to do about 1/4 of an inch here if I can, or maybe a half. A half might be easier. So I need to see where this lines up right here. So I'm going to go about 1/2 an inch from it. Okay, so when I fold that over, we'll have a little bit of extra space there. All right. So we're going to take and we're going to bend these where we scored them. And then we're going to glue them together. Okay, and I moved that and I messed it up. So let me re-glue that a little bit. I moved it right before the glue started setting, and it kind of pulled it away from the edges that I needed. Okay, there we go. And that way we'll be able to fold this in. And then we're going to fold this over on this crease. And that will give us a little extra space on the inside. And just kind of check that out. Make sure it looks straight to you. Okay, so let's measure, and I'll give you the dimensions of this. It's a little bit wider than your average book. It's going to be 7 1/4 inches wide, and it's going to be just about 8, just a little over 8 1/4 wide, or tall, I mean. So nice size paper sack journal. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cover the outside. And if I forgot to mention, this is going to be a 2-part series for these paper sacks. Today we were going to do the paper sack and decorate the front and get all our papers in it. And then the next video we will do the signature inside, and we will decorate these pages on the inside also, and we'll finish it with our closure. So we need to just decide which page we want for the front, and I want to use this one, but I also want to use this one. And so it's up to you if you want to have a border. To me, I like to have a border. So I'm just going to mark these. I don't know what I did with my pencil, but we'll just use a pen here. And so just going to mark that so we can cut it on our cutter. That's good there. And then we'll probably want it about right there. All right, let me grab the cutter. I would tear this with a ruler, but I am not good at that. I usually make a mess with trying to tear it. Not sure why, but I do. Okay, so we're going to use our cutter and come down there. And then we're going to line up our other line here. All right, and we'll save our extra pieces. Now you may want to, if you like to ink, this would be the time to ink. Let me grab my ink out of here. And I'll just ink this paper up real quick. It just helps it to stand out a little bit, get rid of the white edges. I'm using walnut stain. Okay, let me set that over to the side here. And let's glue this on. Let's see if it looks like it's about right, and I think it is. Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead. You can use glue stick, you can use liquid glue, whichever you prefer. I seem to just do better with liquid glue than I do with sometimes with the glue stick. All right, and we're going to just try to line this up so we have the same amount of border showing on each side. All right, and I'll just add a little extra on the corners if they need it. That one's all right. Okay, that looks all right. All right, let's do our inside too, and then we'll come back to the outside and do it in the flap. Okay, so I'm going to take this beautiful, it's a very neutral but pretty flowers there. And again, I'm just going to kind of eyeball where I want it. I'm going to try to keep it just a little bit to the side of the spine there. And just a little bit here. And I think we'll have to measure each one separately. I think they're going to be just a little bit different. Okay. Let me go back up here just slightly so I can get that little bit of off the edge there. There we go. Again, we're gonna check it out. It looks really good. Let's go ahead and glue that down. Hope everyone is having a nice day and enjoying the sunshine. There we go. All right, let's figure out where we want our bee paper to go. And I think I'm just ever so slightly going to cover that right there. Okay. And I want more of this to show down here, so we're going to mark this up here, about right there. And then over here, we want to stay just a little bit away from our fold. So we're going to mark it right there. One more time with our paper cutter. And let's see if we can line this up. There we go. And let's see, where's our top mark? There it is. And there we go. All right. And that looks good. All right, so we're going to get this glued down. The flap will be a little trickier. Apologize if I'm getting out of camera shot there. Okay, and I just ever so slightly want to cover up that edge there. Try to match it up with these if I can. And there we go. Okay, now we're going to do our inside flap. And let's see, which paper do we want to use? Do I have enough of one of my others? Let me see. Nope, those aren't quite large enough. So we'll pick another one here. We could do this. That's nice and contrasting. We need to decide where we want it to be. And I think about there's good. So we're going to need to cut it about right here. And then we're going to cut it right here, a little right here, and we'll have to come back and kind of fit it to the spot that we need it. So let me find my two marks. I know sometimes it's faster if you just cut the paper, you don't have it pre-cut. I like to do that sometimes too, but sometimes I know that others like to see your thought process and figure out, you know, why you decided to cut it the way you did in that. So I thought if it doesn't take too long, I will leave it in. Okay. Now, either way we go, we need to get rid of these little white lines. So I'm going to cut those off. So we don't have to deal with those. There we go. All right. So we got it a little bit more on the sides than I meant to, but it's not too bad. All right, so I'm going to glue part of it down so I can come back and cut those other edges. And let me see, may have to bring that glue down a little bit farther. Make sure we have that straight. Okay. And then I'm going to use my scissors and cut across here. And at first I'm going to use the paper sack to help guide me. Okay. I'll cut my corners. And I'll cut this corner. Okay. And then I'm just going to freehand it and try to trim a little bit more off here. And I'm just pulling it down to help myself a little bit. It is a junk journal, so it's okay if it's not perfect, but we want it to look neat. Okay. There we go. All right, let's glue this part down. There we go. Now all we have left to do is our front flap and our back. And what I want to do is wrap this around. So we're going to kind of do the same process again and wrap this around, and then we'll come back and we'll cut off this top piece here. So for this one, I think I'm going to grab my glue stick just because it covers more space at one time. And I'm going to leave it right about there. And then I'm just going to run my glue stick along here. Oops. Uh-oh. Kind of know where I need it, so we'll try to keep it lined up there. All right. And I'm using my top and bottom paper there to kind of help guide where I need to put this so it'll all line up together. Deciding how much of my border I want to show. Okay. Let's see if we need, I'm going to put a little bit of liquid glue here. Kind of help this so it won't buckle. All right, and then we're going to flip this over. And it's just about perfect. Got a little bit more on one side than the other, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. I may just ever so slightly trim this one back. So let me use my paper cutter so the edge will stay straight. And there we go. That's much straighter than I could do it. And there we go. All right, so glue stick or liquid glue, whichever you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and do glue stick and then come back around the edges with my liquid glue to get them. That way I don't get glue all over my mat. Okay. There we go. And then I'm just going to run a bead of glue under here. And there we go. All right, let's see. Now we're going to do the same thing as we did last time. We're going to cut these even. I'm going to use that as a guideline. Okay, and then I'll kind of just freehand, and we'll get the top here a little bit more. There we go. If you make a little, little boo-boo there, you can either kind of cover it up with some ink when you ink around it, or you can put some kind of lace or trim or ephemera there to help cover it up. But I'm okay with that. Let me go ahead, I'm going to glue that down. All right, and there is a covered paper sack journal. We're going to decorate the front here and get it ready. And then on our next part 2, we will finish the inside of this. So let me grab we need this tag here. And then we're going to use a piece from here. 2 pieces actually from here. So let me cut these out. And that's the fun thing about kits is, you can use them as they were, designed for a certain project. Or you can use them and create your own project however you want. That's the fun of junk journaling, is you can take one kit and probably turn it into at least 10 different journals. All right. And I'm going to cut out It's a Beautiful Life. Okay, let's get this over here. And let me trim this up real quick. Now I am going to take a moment to just ink up these pieces, but I will ink the rest of the journal. I'll go around and I'll ink all the edges of the journal off camera, so you don't have to watch me do all that inking. And then I need you to help me decide on how we're going to decorate the flap of the journal. My thoughts for the closure are going to be an elastic band with a button. But we need to have a little bit of decoration on there. So let me quickly ink these up. And then I'll show you my 3 ideas for the flap, and I want you guys to let me know down in the comments what you think looks the best. Okay, and ink up the... Now you could round the corner on these if you want, but I really am enjoying the straight corners. But you could round the corners if you want them rounded. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece right here, glue on our bird, and then add our sentiment right here. All right, let me go ahead and glue him down. And try to center him as much as possible. There we go. And then we're going to add It's a Beautiful Life. Perfect. And then we just need to decide where we want to put it. And I think maybe just right about there. My paper's got getting some of the walnut stain on it. That's all right. I don't know if you can hear my cats. They are running up and down the hallway, having a good time. Perfect. Okay, we're going to glue that down. And let me grab the 3 ideas I have, oops, for the flap and see which one you guys like the best. Okay, so I have 3 ideas. I have this piece of burlap ribbon that we could put right along here, and then we'll have the button elastic band closure, or I have a vintage doily that we could, it would just be, I don't want to cover up the entire back of the journal, but it would just be around it would be here on the top and just slightly around the edge of it. So there's the vintage doily. And then here is, this one is a little smaller and a little more, what would you call it, off-white color. The other one's more of a tea-stained dyed one. And then we have this one here. They're all beautiful choices. I just need help deciding. So if you guys would let me know down in the comments for part 2 which one you think would look the best, we'll go with the majority of votes, okay? All right. So thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you for part 2.